Glad to hear things are going great for Rippaverse. As someone who's trying to get into writing his own indie comics, I see you as an inspiration. Do you have any advice for aspiring writers? All right, I'm going to say something. I'm going to give you a hot take here. It's good advice, though. Okay, with comics, I can't speak to, maybe Drinker can speak to his experience and doing it in a more novel form, let's say that. But in comics, because it's been a big sugar daddy based industry. And what I mean by that is they have been obtaining and absorbing substantial losses over decades. And a lot of people have been brought into that fold and grew up in that industry, right? So even though they weren't necessarily making the company money, they think that they know how this shit works. So hot take, I've said it before, when it comes to what you're doing, creatively maybe, but as far as marketing, as far as finding an actual audience for your material, which I'd imagine you're not just doing it for a passion project, you want to be great and you want to, give people some sort of entertainment. Your peers are probably not going to be the people that know what it is that they're fucking talking about, being completely honest. That's not to say that the information that they let you in on is useless. Not saying that. Some of it may be, very well may be. But I'm telling you to take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of them look at it through the lens of the creative and the creative only, instead of looking at it through the lens of the audience, which ultimately, if you're doing it for a passion project, well, never mind what it is that I'm saying. But if you're trying to write with an audience in mind, your peers often, they can't. They can't. So don't look at it like everything that they say is gospel. Everybody's going to offer their advice. As an example, you can present something to me and say, how do you feel about it? I could say, I think this is the worst goddamn thing in the world. If the audience has determined that their position is the complete opposite, they're the ones that are correct. It doesn't fucking matter how I feel about it. Your audience has responded to it. They love it. That's who fucking matters. So you'll find in certain aspects, it is a big disconnect between the peers and the customers. And I think that's more of a nature to how this industry has been built. And that there was really no big connect outside of going to a Comic-Con, no big connect, because the contractors and commissioners, if you will, never really answered to the customers in a proxy, in kind of a way, because if your shit didn't sell, you might have got taken off of some shit. But as far as ultimately answering to them, that's the company answering to the customers, not you directly as the creative. And in the independent space, it's the complete opposite. You're answering to not the creators, not the other peers. You're answering directly to the audience. I love your perspective on this before we bounce on that, Drinker, and what your experience has been getting something that's well received from the audience versus kind of how do you, I don't know, navigate that, because peers may feel a certain kind of way versus what the audience feels.
I mean, it's different for me because my experiences, particularly as an author, were not shaped by me being a YouTuber or anything like that. It was me just starting out as an unknown author. And so you've definitely got lots of people around you who are willing to give you advice. Some of it's good, some of it's not worth listening to. And you just have to consider, where is it coming from, and like how much success have they had that they're in a position to give you this advice in the first place. I guess from my own experiences, particularly when it just comes to like getting your background skills ready for writing stories, don't put too much emphasis on things like creative writing courses and all that stuff, and just read creative writing from other people. Take the time to think about what makes some of your favorite stories work. Why did they grab you? Why did the characters intrigue you so much? Why were they interesting? Why was the story so capable of getting you invested in it? Those are the things that are important. And once you begin to experience more and more of that, you see what works, and you begin to understand what these authors have done to make that happen, because there is a lot going on behind the scenes that you don't necessarily see as the audience unless you really think about it. A lot of nuts and bolts stuff that makes the story move forward that you're not always aware of, but it's there, and there's a real art to making that happen in a way that feels natural. So take the time to really experience that, examples of it that are done well, and think about it. And then when it comes to drawing up your own story, well, this is just what works for me. Plan it out in advance. Do the flesh and bone approach, where you've got the bare skeleton of your story, the bare bones, gradually flesh it out, and then eventually you'll end up with a really nice detailed synopsis of your story. Then write your story so you know where it's going.
There you go. That's fantastic advice, and I think that crosses over into probably helping a lot of people out with, like I say, comic books as well.
Alpha Core #1's pre-order is live. Written by the legendary Chuck Dixon and penciled by Joe Bennett. Visit Rippaverse.com to grab a copy and any of the merchandise items. Be sure to also check out the animated trailer for the campaign, which is the latest project from Rippaverse Studios. Y'all be easy.